made a big impact on what happened when that storm hit the shores, which it went from a 5 to a 3 to a 2 to who knows. Apparently, it didn't have near the impact as it
Made a
was.
big impact on
Sorry.
what happened when.
We're live on
Oh,
YouTube.
okay. Sorry,
There
I heard
you
an echo of myself.
go.
So it really made a deep impact, and it just again just leaning into the brilliant work of Dr. Emoto of how powerful our awareness is and how it affects everything around us, especially with the brilliance of water and how water is such an agency for our awareness and agency for our consciousness. It's such an ally for us. So that's a big part of what we wanted to talk about tonight. And we wanted to start out with a prayer in regards to that awareness so we can calm ourselves, calm the water within ourselves so it brings that awareness into the other bodies of water in the world and how it affects everything around us. So welcome, folks. I know you're putting some information into the chat. Thank you very much. I'm not. Oh, Sydney, Australia. See, we got people from all over. This is really fabulous. Thank you for joining us. I'm Michael Joseph. I'm the host of the ongoing PMA Weekly that's been around for years, and also the founding director of the Sacred Honor Educational Fellowship. And the PMA Weekly, what it's what we've started out doing years ago was kind of a lighthouse for people that had a richer awareness of some of the events that were going on in the world, and they wanted to find their way out of isolation. They wanted to find people with common minds and common hearts and come together to find those support groups so we could bind ourselves together with our awareness, and we could start working on moving away from some of the structures that were put into place, like the corporate state, if you guys have any awareness of that. So the PMA Weekly is a place for us to come together so people can learn about how they can safeguard themselves and move their lives into a safer space, away from the corporate entities and sort of the government overreach orientations, where people can find their way back to the land in a safe way. And the Sacred Honor Educational Fellowship is a place where people are coming in to learn about it. So the PMA Weekly is a place where we talk about it, and the Sacred Honor Educational Fellowship is where we put it into practice, and people can learn through like elements of status in the world with passports and trust bodies within a church structure, land patents, right? Becoming freeholders of your land again. A lot to learn about that. And equity, which is a phenomenal remedy that navigates everything in the public system as understanding that everything in the public system is commercial, and you learn how to be a bookkeeper. So there's a lot in all of this, and people are learning how to safeguard their lives. So that's a big part of what I bring into the world. And if you guys wanted to learn about that, you can go to pmaweekly.com. Maybe we can just put that into the chat. Or you could go to sacredhonoref.com. Are you able to put that in there real quick? Yeah. So thank you for that. And co-hosted here with Reya Manna. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself briefly.
I'm seeing some things in the chat. So thanks, Phil. It should highlight the speaker, but you should also, if you go to gallery view, you should be able to see all of us. And thanks for letting me know you could hear me typing. So my name is Reya Manna, and I am the founder of the SongKeeper School, which is a program of sacred singing, earth honoring, and ritual. And I guide people through finding their full creative self-expression and reconnecting with the essence of who we are through reconnecting with nature. I also have a project for children called Sing the World Awake, which teaches mindfulness, meditation, and emotional awareness through song and meditation and movement, and bringing children into that space, or creating that vibrational net to catch them so that they remember who they are in the world. And talking about water here today is so important. We are water. Water is us. And also thinking of the future generations, that working with children, what I'm being reminded of so much lately is that children need to see reference points of truth in order to remember who they are. And when they see these reference points of truth, they have this divine intelligence that exists within them that can naturally find the way, like this internal compass. So, for us as as the adults, we're the stewards at this time, and we're needed to come and really steward the planet properly, steward the planet, steward our relations, and show, represent truth to our next generation so that they can find their way forward, because really they're here to bring something to the table that we don't even have an idea about. And so glad to be here to speak about water and to pray with water and to learn more about water, and water as a carrier of consciousness, water as a storehouse of wisdom and information. And yeah, keep putting your messages in the chat, and I think we're all set up on this back end.
Cool. And I'm just going to take a quick minute to kind of do a run of show so everybody knows what's coming forward here in the next couple of hours, hour and 45 minutes, whatever, however we land. Going to kind of be open to that flow. We're going to start out. So tonight we are going to have a discussion about the consciousness of water, some of the stuff that we were just talking about in the past few minutes. And we're going to get into the orientation around primary water. Russ Anderson's going to bring that in a lot. I'm sure David Wolfe will bring that forward too. Hydrogen, the power of hydrogen, what does that mean? Structured water, why is that important to understand this? How is it effective in our bodies? And I think those are kind of the primary subjects. And we are going to get into like the Clearwater vision and what's going on in Clear Lake, California, how Brown's gas and hydrogen and those levels of very intelligent sourcing, how they can be effective in remediation. And there needs to be more focus on that. So we're going to bring all that stuff into the discussion and bring it in tonight, as well as some ceremonial prayer, and allow us to connect with our ally of water. So without further ado, I'd love to kick us off with a ceremonial prayer with Sewa. And I don't know if you want to bring that in some way.
Have we introduced all of our guests? Maybe we can introduce our...
I did. Everyone was introduced.
Great.
Why you were hard at other
things. I
things.
was hard at other things. Wonderful. So yes, that feels great to bring in Sewa. And
yeah, so do you want to introduce Sewa and perhaps just talk about, say, if you want to bring forward what your intention is here, and you can just bring us in.
Yeah. Okay. So Sewa Valencia is my dear sister and founder of Sisters of the One Drum. She is a Yake Yome woman working to bring communities together in her intertribal drum troupe through the power of the drum in sacred circles to bring unity and empowerment. She is a powerful medicine woman. She has a beautiful heart. She has a deep, deep connection to spirit and to the listening of spirit. And in this time where we're being called to action, we're also being called to deep listening. And so Sewa seemed the perfect choice to open the space of prayer and awareness so that we can all drop into the space of deep listening, because the actions that we take need to be inspired by the wisdom of spirit. And so Sewa, I would love for you to say an opening prayer to bring us even further into this space.
Creator, Great Spirit, God of your understanding, we come together in unity and oneness. Each and every one of us that is present, may we open our hearts to deeper listening, to oneness, not sameness, remembering that we carry all the elementals within us. That is why it is so important at this time more than ever we work together as a unit, as a tribe, as a nation, as peoples. It's going to take each and every one of us to do this work. No matter the color of our skin, no matter our faith, no matter our background. None of that matters. to our mother, to our earth mother. All that matters is that we take care of each other and honor her. All my relations, that's everything and everyone. If one of us is missing out of the medicine wheel, it's not a complete circle. We are not complete. We are all important. We all matter. And our voices need to be heard in order to sing the prayer of creation, in order to shift what is happening right here, right now. I'm going to sing a prayer that rarely leaves our circle. It's a ceremonial song. And I may get heat for it because it's such a sacred song that has never been recorded. And you won't find it on YouTube. I'm going to sing it because I know it's needed in the world more than ever. I need this prayer. I need this prayer. You need this prayer. Humanity needs this prayer. So I offer it in the good way and I ask for my elders and for my peoples that shared this prayer. I sing it with the utmost love and respect, knowing that Creator wants me to sing this prayer, that our mother wants me to offer this prayer so that it becomes your prayer, your heart song. So you carry it with that love. This prayer has created miracles in the life of our people. I offer this prayer for the water, for we are the water. And if the water's not well, we are not well. But we need to remember who we are to the water. We need to introduce ourselves to the water. We need to remember our connection to each other and one another. We need to see ourselves in all things. The water is life. It is our medicine. It is you. It is me. It is us. Water is sacred. Water is holy. And we are as well. So I offer this prayer to you with all my heart, with all my being. This is a woman's healing song, Cheyenne woman's healing song. I sing it. May you receive it. May you carry that prayer with you. For the healing of you is the healing of the water. Be with me in this prayer. Be with us. Keep your heart open to listening, to feeling, to healing, to forgiving, to understanding, to the possibilities of what we can co-create together. Yehunate kame, in my language, I call creator. Say imete waiwarim, all my relations. I offer you this prayer. Sing with me if you feel compelled. Yana o weya yana o weya yoko yana o weya Yokoyana Weya Yana Weya Yana Weya Yokoyana yana o weya yana o weya yana o weya yokoyana o weya yokoyana o weya yana o weya yana o. Luturia eteho, truth has been spoken. Se imete waiwarim, all my relations, that is me, that is you, that is us, that is all things. All things are created by Creator. I thank you for this opportunity to share this sacred prayer. Thank you for the teachers that taught me this prayer. Please know I sang this prayer in the most sacred way that I can, in a good way. May the water receive it. May we remember when we step in that water to introduce ourselves. Tell the water who we are. We go to the water to receive our healing as Indigenous peoples. Before we step in, we introduce ourselves. We ask for permission. We give an offering and we get cleaned up. I have elders that walked over 100 miles just to get to the water to clean themselves up, to sing to the water, to pray to water. And remember this more than anything. If you remember this. All prayer is beautiful. So sing your prayers. You don't have to have the most gorgeous voice. It doesn't matter. Creator wants to hear your prayer. So sing it with all your heart. Sing to the water. Sing to the fire. Sing to the earth. Sing to the wind. It wants to know you because it knows your name already. It just wants you to remember who you are. Thank you to each and every one of you for the work that you're doing, for showing up today, for carrying this prayer. Carry it forward as we together create the change that is needed right here, right now. Let's do it. It is time. Chokwe Otesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Sewa.
Yeah,
So
thank you, Sewa.
beautiful. So beautiful. So this evening is a mix of water from the spiritual world and water from the physical world. And so we call upon the spirit because, we are physical beings housed in a spirit. And our world is a physical world housed in a spirit. And so we're appealing to the transformation in the spirit of place. And there are some of us who've joined together tonight who have been part of many innovations in the physical world. And I want to introduce Russ Anderson to share a bit of his knowledge and expertise. Russ Anderson is the founder of Clearwater Vision, and he is a wisdom keeper of primary water. Now, I had not heard of primary water before recently, so I'm still looking forward to having him share this with you. He was a colleague of Dr. Yul Brown and an expert in Brown's gas, which we'll be learning more about. And he's going to be sharing with us today this growing awareness of primary water and the intelligence of brown gas. And so welcome, Russ. And we have a PowerPoint presentation that he has to share to go over some of these very innovative areas. So welcome, Russ, and I'll just get going right off the ground with your slideshow presentation.
He's muted, so we gotta get him on.
Oh, and let's. Okay, so if you can unmute yourself.
You should be able to unmute yourself there, Russ. There you go. Okay. Can we not unmute him?
He needs to press the button.
All right.
I'm saying ask to unmute, so a button should be coming up.
So you're still muted, Russ. For some reason, we're not able to. So while we're figuring out how to get Russ's mute button unmuted, I met Russ about a year and a half ago or somewhere in that realm. Well, actually, it was about 2.5 years ago. I brought him on
Oh,
to
there we go.
PMA
Yeah.
Weekly to talk about primary water, and you're talking about the rings of fire. And some primary water was new to me at the time. The ring of fire was relatively new to me, and you were talking about some things that I was unaware of. But everything in my heart was a yes. So you invited me to an event in Clear Lake, California, which is the oldest lake in North America, and I had no clue why I was being called out there. I was to see yes. So I met Russ out there and a group of other people, and he was sharing with me what was going on in that beautiful lake up there, and how it had been quite decimated and toxified through through a mercury mine up there, and it introduced some original people or folks that had like a 15,000 year lineage, the Elam water people from that lake. And we spent several days together. It was really profound. So primary water was introduced into a deeper way into my awareness, as was Brown's gas, which I was already aware of, but I didn't really get. And I get on a much higher level now and understand hydrogen and stuff as well. So it's I blame it mostly on you, Russ. So it's your fault.
Thank you.
Anyway,
So-
let's dive right into it. I just wanted to offer a little bit of background of how I know you and
Well, thank you,
honor and
Michael.
respect I have for you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Reya. And I wanted to say something really important with Sewa. It is really time for healing. It is really time for that, and that's why I feel responsible for some things that it took me a lot of years to do. We're talking about this is my 30th year since I met my mentor, who was very close to Yogananda. I don't know how many people know anything about Yogananda, but I had to learn through the 30 years how powerful these entities are, great entities, not human entities, that there's this sense these people have carried my heart for a lot of years, and that's why I met with these people that are innovative, such as Dr. Hugh Brown and Dr. Emoto, and so on. So I'll just tell that story. But if we go right to the beginning of this PowerPoint, it can be explained right in the PowerPoint, and I want to make sure we get to the end of it, so we don't, we can just imagine what's going on, because it'll take a long time to get through there. And I only have 10 minutes, and I really want everybody to know how important these mentors that we all have, and how important they are to lead us to the place. Otherwise, I would never be here. You guys are really beyond me, in the sense of how educated you are, how great this is. But we're looking at now, as Sewa was saying, it doesn't matter anymore. What really matters is that we're all together. And, I'll just tell my story. Um, um, if you just go to the first, is this it? Okay, so we'll just go from there. I'll start from there and we'll just go down. The sun is water. This is what Dr. Hugh Brown said. Now that was impossible to hear, of course. And if the sun is water, then how can that be? And which of the scientists will actually believe that? But he said that basically, and I'm going to be just basic about it, because water is, if I could sit and talk to these people who would say that's impossible, and took a machine out and poured water in it, and it came out at the heat equal to the surface of the sun, they would say that's impossible. And so this impossibility is actually something that is really important in order to actually explain the story that I have to tell you. So go to the next could you go to the next one? Yeah, so we'll just go. This is primary water. This is where we are in the center of the earth, and basically it goes through our poles. And we could probably imagine that because we're now finding water on all sorts of planets at the poles. And so in a sense, it goes through the poles, it comes within the earth, and it becomes out like a little baby, from the water, depending upon our frequency, our love, like what Say was saying, and so on. So go to the next one. And so here I had met. Okay, so let's just go from this one. This is me in 1996, 2 years after I met my mentor, and he would pray to me for me every city and say, you need to continue what you're doing. And of course, I didn't know what I was doing, but we created this people who basically wanted to know, what is water? Where does it come from? There's two foundations, there's upper and lower firmaments, and basically we only worship one. We don't worship the two of them. In fact, we're not supposed to worship, but we can build a machine, and if we can build a machine and pour water in a machine from a very high level personality who is in love with life itself, then we could basically create water that is as heat at the surface of the sun. So just go to the next one, and we'll show you this. This is Dr. Emoto back in 2005. He came to Clear Lake, the oldest lake in America, and he looked at the crystal, and he mentioned that it was the most complex structure he's ever seen. So he's been all over the world, and I couldn't really ideally understand what it was that and why it was so complex. So just take the next one. And here's me with Dr. Emoto back in 2010. He asked me, he said, how do you know this stuff? And I said, well, I met Dr. Hugh Brown, and he looked at me and he said, what? You have? And he said, I study him. I know what he's saying is absolutely true. And so I explained to him that the reason why I know this is because the water is useful. It's more complex, like you said. And the complexity is a beauty of it, is a usefulness. And that's why we look at water as useful. And so if you can draw up water from the earth, and here we are at the last of the oldest seeable volcano. Turn the next page. And so you can see that there are places in the world, and this is why we went to Montana this year, just to look to see that this great divide, or this continental divide, we say, that goes from the poles, from both upper North Pole down to South Pole. And I want you to go to next. This all guides into what we call the ring of fire. So even if we end up just understanding that water is coming directly out of the ground, out of Yellowstone National Park, we can say, okay, that is primary water. We can test it, we can do whatever we want with it, but it is water that is useful. It's really what some people say, the usefulness, and it heals us. It has this healing quality. So if you go to the next one, we'll see where that goes. There's another version, but of course, if you look at it and a child could see that these continents once fit together, you could see that. It's funny how a child can see that, and yet we have a problem as we get older, thinking that that's impossible. So at one time, the water pushed up, and it created these continents that we had separated, and of course, we all are water, like we all say. So go to the next one, and we'll become more understanding of this. And so the importance here is to understand what these continents are all about and how they fit together, and why when you flush your toilet it goes counterclockwise on the upper continent, and the lower it goes clockwise. We begin to understand where it comes from, which we call the Ring of Fire. And of course, if you follow that understanding, this great divide goes into South America, and they meet somewhere where, you can imagine where the pyramids were at. So you're looking to see what it is that created this earth, and it's really hidden in plain sight. As we get to the point where we can see, and we even bring in the USGS where they don't quite understand, but they can answer the questions just by doing something that they themselves don't understand. So this is going in, you'll see that the Ring of Fire actually goes into the ocean, and you can't see it anymore. You can't study anything more than the last of the oldest seeable volcanoes, and that's what we call Canocti, or we call Clear Lake, what we do now. So it's really important to study that lake to understand our own possibilities. And so if you go back to the next one, so that last one, you see a line. So you see this line basically explains this is the 38th parallel. This is where two forces come together, and we can name all sorts of different forces that come together. And this one, the 38th parallel, where Korea, upper and lower firmaments, are basically these two opposing forces need to come together. We sit in a divide here, even in America, where we fight over Democrats and Republicans, and there's a line between it, Washington and San Francisco, where this whole thing continues to go around the earth. And of course, there is Japan. So Japan is a part of this, and this is why we want America to wake up, to understand we shouldn't be fighting over politics or masculine and feminine, that we want to become one. So we can think about all the things we want to think about, but this is an important era and time, and that's when we get to study Clear Lake. So if you go to the next step, you'll see this is Clear Lake. We really want to show you, how important this is by looking at the water and understanding the healing of the water needs to happen. So the next step, I love how this is. This is a picture from outer space looking down at what we call the Yolo bypass, which is just outside of San Francisco, and the creeks that are going in there are from the Canocti Mountain, and of course it's glowing as it goes into San Francisco at the Sacramento River. So the importance of this has been going on for 400,000 years. It has been going into San Francisco, allowing that primary water to reach a place where things are changing. They change in California. You've noticed that there was change, and now there's not so much change. And this is what I want to say to people, how important California is, even though we look at California as really dull at this time. And I want to go into that part of healing that's so valuable and so important. And this is why I asked that we understand the last of the old seeable volcanoes, so that we can know who we are and we can heal. And if we heal this lake, I keep saying that to people, but I don't know how it can penetrate, even though we say it's the oldest lake, and this is not me that said that. But I had to go investigate even more by bringing the negative into the positive. So So just bring in one more slide and we'll see some more of this. Okay, that's not it.
Yeah.
So,
So I want to bring something forward, Russ. One of the
okay.
things that was very compelling to me
Yes.
and the and very, very hopeful is getting it because you kind of went through Brown's gas, but didn't really talk much about Brown's gas.
No.
And I'm by not even remote stretch an expert at Brown gas at all. Um, However, what you were sharing with me, one of the powers of Brown's gas is the way that if it's vacuumized in some way and then ignited and then it implodes, and then there's some kind of a toxic value that's introduced to it, that it can render it inert. So it
Oh, yeah.
turns into a remediation element. So
Yeah.
there needs to be some focus and awareness on this possibility, and that's partly what Yul Brown was doing.
Yes.
And some of that information is kind of being reworked on so there it can be utilized as a technology through this particular intelligence of splitting the H and the O and utilizing the H in a way that can help remediate and render nuclear waste and certain toxic properties, rendering them inert. That's phenomenal to grok.
Thank
How
you.
it's done is the part that we're still working on, and perhaps it's already been done and it just needs to be brought forward. But I wanted to
Yes.
bring it forward because I know that's part of what your initiative is for the Clearwater vision of the Clearwater Lake and where my heart was captured in this.
And this
And
is where, yes, thank you. And I want to do that. I usually do that with the questions that are asked, and you're asking the questions, so I want to give that as strongly as I can. Dr. Hugh Brown called it the bringing the two worlds together,
no problem.
the hydrogen and the oxygen, so what we're looking at is a stoichiometric mixture between hydrogen and oxygen. And so what we can do, and we call the oxygen the feminine and the hydrogen the masculine. And so in that, we're bringing these two worlds, upper and lower firmaments, together. But of course, back in 96, we couldn't get that point across. Now we can. Now we're here to understand that it's coming from the heart. That equality is this scalar wave that we've been looking for a long, long time. And so you'll take any society and you'll be able to put it together as we measure the two worlds. And we can do that with Brown's gas. It's an implosion and it's not an explosion.
Right.
I'm not against the explosion, but the bomb was one thing that we wanted to do and understand that before we can explain the implosion and the more feminine part. And this is why we go to Divine Mother. We go inside, and this is what allows us to grow. So your question is so poignant because this is the most thing that we can do to understand. And this is hidden in plain sight according to what we can see. And these are the questions that we know, but we just have to go through the physical to get to the spiritual. And so the spiritual is the most important issue. But as we live life, we go through all of the explosions. We go all through these imagination. Imagine that we're so different, and the masculine overrides the feminine, and that has to end. And we're
So,
ending.
so Russ, we got to move on. So I just want to bring up one thing, and then I want to bring on David Avocado Wolfe so we
Good,
can keep on
good.
trucking and honor our
Yes,
timelines.
yes,
Um, it's very apparent to a lot of people that water is generated from the heart of this earth, and I'm just going to say somehow, some way.
yes,
That's very apparent. So for folks that are in this mindset of water scarcity, that's just a big farce. It's a big game that's being played on the consciousness of humanity. And I want us to be able to have some deeper conversations about the deeper truth of that. So I want,
I just want to say, in case it was lost on people,
yeah,
primary water is the water that comes from the earth. We're kind of
yeah,
under this idea that water comes from the sky and that, the water that we have on the surface of the earth is it. So the idea is that primary water comes from inside of the earth up that's the lower firmament. And then water comes from the sky down. The water we have on the earth is a combination of primary water and the water that comes from the sky. So just to bring our intelligence and our attention to this aspect of primary water, and then bringing us back to that first slide, which is the sun comes from water. And so the sun is burning hydrogen gas, correct?
I believe so. I'm
So
not.
I just
certain.
wanted to
I believe
give
that's
those,
true.
I think you're going to talk about that more so people can understand Brown's gas and can understand some of this technology, how it comes from water and the relevance of if there's water inside of our earth, could there be water that sources the sun? So I just wanted to touch those points so they kind of stuck out in people's minds as we move forward.
That's beautiful. So one thing I will say is, this is what we're searching for, different what types of water and so on, and it's all true. But when you reach this surface, if this water below the mantle can come up, and I think it was just about our own vibration, but the idea of it is meeting with the sun is so valuable, and that's where we call it plasma. So it's just a natural thing that's been going on for millions and millions of years, but we are the in between. We are the ones, as the Bible says, all of creation is yearning for the redemption of man. And it's between us. It isn't between anything else. And this is so exciting, when you get the Native Americans knowing this, because they understand it with their heart. And so we do too. All of the white people do too. We fought for our independence many, many years ago, just because we were able to sit by a spring one time and realize how important it was that the water coming within the earth was so important to the rest of the people.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you very much for that expression and for the heart and work that you've done in your lifetime. It certainly inspired me. And thank you for sharing today. And don't go away. I want to bring David Avocado Wolfe into the conversation.
Good.
And because David, you and I have known each other for several years, and a lot of the conversations that we've had and a lot of the expressions that I've heard you have over the years, even on some of your own properties, that water is a very important aspect of everything you do in your life. So even with the work that you did with your relationship with Dr. Patrick Flanagan, it was all oriented. I know Flanagan has done so much amazing stuff, but what seemed to find its way into our consciousness more than anything was his work with water and structured water and hydrogen. So it's just imbibed in your being now, and it just made sense to bring you onto the call so you could express some of your awareness and insights and genius in that. So how would you like to start this conversation?
Great question. Okay, well, thanks for having me here. And water's been a deep love of my life. And I spent 30 years traveling the world to the world's springs. I've been to about 400 cold springs on the earth, which is a lot, on 5 continents, and tracked them down. And I was inspired by Victor Schauberger. I was in a water fast about 30 years ago, and 4th day of a water fast, which is today, by the way. I'm on the 4th day of a water fast today, drinking this interesting water right here. So I thought that, did you know that? I don't know if you knew that I was actually I'm doing a 33-day water
No,
fast.
I didn't.
The 4th day.
33?
So yeah, 33 days.
Well, the last time we were hanging out, you were doing a full dry fast. So it's
It keeps going. So anyway, I just found that to be an interesting synchronicity. That's why I was asking earlier why we're doing it today. At any rate, I spent 30 years of my life, because Victor Schauberger inspired me, like, get to the source of springs. There you will see an anomaly that cannot be explained. It will teach you the next level of technology. And the anomaly is that the water's coming out at the top of the mountain. It's coming out the highest point, colder than the ground is, colder than the earth is. So if the earth is 58 degrees Fahrenheit, the water could be coming out at 46. It's right there. You're like, well, how's this happening? And so it was a beautiful journey. And I've been a big part of a free resource that I want to make sure everybody gets tonight, which is findaspring.org. Findaspring.org has been a brilliant work by basically myself and 3 other gentlemen over many, many years. It's been about 20 years now to get that resource out there so that people can find springs in their local area, anywhere in the world. And you can add them too. If you want to add some in, it's great. But after a while of hunting springs and getting a feel for primary water from Stephen Reese's work, because eventually through Victor Schauberger, I got into all the other people, you realize that, like, let's just say in a place like Mount Warning in Australia, Byron Bay area, where you have an old continental shelf and then the volcano comes up through it and busts and cracks that shelf open. And then there's a seam between the volcanic material and the old continental shelf. That's where the primary water is typically found, right? It's coming up with a volcano typically because it comes up from the deep earth. That's why when you have like an event like Mount St. Helens, you're going to have a tsunami. There's a tsunami involved with the Mount St. Helens type of event. You're like, wait a second, I thought this is like hot lava coming out. But part of the process is the water coming out, the primary water. And so I found that there's numerous different types of springs. There's hot springs. We're not going to touch that. There's different types of hot springs, but the cold springs are more interesting to me. This house is on a cold spring, actually, and I've cleaned out the cold spring here 2 days ago. That was a whole process to just every like 3 months, you have to just get down on your knees and appease the spirit of the spring, because this is not a well. This is a real spring that bubbles out of the ground. It has its own personality, and it has. I've been here 20 years. The stories that have come out of this particular spring, just this one here, because I know it so well because it's so intimate, would boggle everyone's mind. You literally wouldn't believe it. It has a personality, and if it doesn't get what it wants, it's going to tell you until you get it right. And every piece of that old system broke down until we got it right. We got the spiral pipes in there. We got the spiral inserts into the lines. We got the whole thing done right now. Now the spring's happy, which there was many years it was not. It's a lot easier these days. So that's a forest spring. This is not a primary spring. This spring here is created by the forest. So when this place was glaciated and stripped down to the rock, eventually the soil worked its way back up with the trees and the plants and the bushes and the animals and everything. And then eventually that wicking effect brings that hunger in the inner earth, that hydrogen that wants to get up as close to the sun as it can get. And then at the top point, it has to show itself because it can't go any higher because it has to reveal itself from the earth. And that's the high point where the spring water comes out, which is really just a hydrogen point. It's a place where if you go and you go, you sniff around, you smell ozone because the ozone's spiraling in to mate with the hydrogen to get to the hydrogen, right? And then you have a multiplication effect where all of a sudden a little rivulet becomes suddenly a creek and then a river. And you're like, wow, right there. And that's basically, that's what this is here in this forest. There's 7 springs actually on this property. Very interesting place. That's why I'm here.
So why is the hydrogen? So you caught my attention. We said that hydrogen is coming to meet the sun.
This is Patrick Flanagan, direct quote. I talked to Patrick many nights about this. You know, Dr. Patrick Flanagan, dearly departed, one of my mentors. He said that hydrogen's, this is very interesting wording. The hydrogen's trying to fall into the sun.
So that plays into the idea that the sun is water and it's expressing hydrogen. So there's
it's an
a
interact.
relation?
Well, okay, so this is how I was taught. So I was taught the Victor Schauberger model, the Atlantean model, the probably a model of technology that existed back by the beings who created the pyramids and Sacsayhuaman,
Right.
Peru, and Cusco, Peru, and all that.
Yeah.
And this is this idea. The female's carbon. Carbon is female in the earth, the female element. Then the sun is male, right? So that's oxygen. And then what they come together, there's a baby, right? Multiplication, bam, bam, bam. There's the hydrogen, bam, 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 and suddenly there's water there, right? Because the amount of spring water, for example, I went through this with the U.S. Geological Survey, arguing with them. The amount of water that's listed in rivers in, just let's say in North America, does not equal the amount of precipitation and total spring water flow. Not even close. It's not close. It's not even 40%. And that's you'd be lucky if you get to 40%. Where's this extra water coming from? Well, this has to do with the nature of the primary water concept, which is it's being materialized into place under certain conditions where the water is cold, away from direct sunlight, under moonlight, and it will suddenly pop, 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 and suddenly grows. Which is why, by the way, if you go to this spring is not stripped down bare to the sun. This thing is protected from the sun. It's protected. It's a baby coming out, got hydrogen coming out. It's got to be protected from the sun. You can't just put a brand new baby out in the sun. It's going to be damaged. It's going to be pushed back, right? There's going to be a failure to thrive. And that's how the spring comes out under the forest, away from the sun. It wants to hide from the sun and stay as cool and cold as possible in that anomaly temperature of 4 degrees centigrade or about 39 Fahrenheit, 39.2. That's when water's specifically dense. right? So water can't get denser if it gets colder. It can't get denser if it gets hotter. So it's specifically dense there. So that was the anomaly temperature that Victor Schauberger was big about. And to tell you honestly, that teaching has never left me for a single day. Something so powerful, because I'm up here in Ontario, Canada, so in northern Ontario. So when it gets cold here and that water hits that anomaly temperature, it's scintillating. It's scintillating. And the water coming out of the Canadian Shield, out of the granite, it's hard to imagine. I've drank spring water all over the world. I've drank different kinds of waters that came out of all over California, that, the newer parts of the world where new mountain ranges have been lifted up, older parts of the world like here that's still granite, that plutonic rock that's underneath, say, when you go 30,000 feet underneath the oil beds of Texas, it's this rock that's there. That water has the primary water in it. It's more readily available or something. It's just it's more mature for sure. Having drank spring water in Hawaii for 30 years, I can tell you that water is immature. It's not like this water. There's something very special about granite water, and the granite water of, for example, Yosemite. It's incredible. There's a spring right there, Fern Spring, right at the bottom of those monuments when you're driving around. Bam, there's a spring right there. It's incredible. And so that's why we do find a spring.org and .com. Both will take you there, because we want to get you to those places and learn about why is the water coming up? Like, what's happening here? It's not, if it was being pushed up by pressure, it'd be heated up and there'd be a hot spring. It's coming out colder than the groundwater. It's colder than the ground temperature. And you're like, what's happening here?
So those are super great points. When you're talking about the precipitation doesn't make sense for the volume of water, like that hits me like a rock. So this, for many, many years, for like 30 years of my life, I've been going to the Ozarks in Missouri, going down this river called the 11-Point River. And it has 11 points of spring heads that are feeding the river, which I'd never put two and two together for years. And after I met Russ, and he was, when the primary water was coming to my consciousness, it was brought to my attention that there's a massive spring well that kicks up in that 11-Point River, and it's a primary water source, and it's phenomenal. It's just when you stick your hands in the water, your hands and your body glow blue, and it's coming out so strong. There's so much energy in it. We've tried to dive into it, and it just pushes you out. It's so powerful. And just to drink it, and it's freezing cold, yet you don't want to get out of it. There's so much life in it. It's powerful. It is an experience to be in those kinds of bodies of spring heads. Really, really phenomenal experience.
For sure. There's one in Jamaica that you just reminded me of, where you get into this cave. It's called Raging River. This giant vortex of water comes out of the earth, spins around, goes down, it goes right past a giant kapok tree, spins around and goes bam down that hill like a river. And you're like, it's like an artery of the earth is cut. Massive vortex coming out, huge swirl. It's incredible. But you can get into a cave next to it. And as you get deeper into that cave, you can actually get into the walls, and the walls are like Swiss cheese. The water's moving through them. And so you get in there, and then you realize this is primary water. This is the best water ever. And then people in there with me were like, do you think we can drink this water? And all of a sudden we realized all simultaneously, this is the best water we've ever had. Drink as much as you can right now. So we're just all in there gulping water that we're swimming.
Right. Yeah. We were doing the same. Of course, your skin is taking it all in. You're drinking so much of that beautiful water. So you use the word structured. So that's something I want to bring into the conversation. So you're such a health enthusiast, a superfood megamaniac. And, that's been your big mission in life, is to help people realize the power of everything that's around us and how our body's just ready for it. So so I want to back up and get real simple. How does structured water work, and why is it important to know about structured water, and how does water work in the body when it actually absorbs into the cells properly?
Okay, so if we're being totally honest, the water's always, as all our lives, responded instantaneously to our thoughts. It's reading our mind the whole time, always has. It's just the way things are. Our thought has something to do with water, obviously. They're on the same wavelength. So all our thoughts about water, everything we think about water is programmed right into the water. And that's a structuring right there. Just our thoughts structure the water. Then if you add some of the amazing gifts of this earth, like salts, real salts, sea salts, for example, that structures the water. If you put the water, let's say you distill the water so it's as unstructured as you can get it, you basically, if I have a cup of water like this, and it's been distilled and I walk across the room, the chances of this splashing out are high. But if it's informed, if it's like natural spring water, it's water that's been under the sun or the moon, it's had prayers in it, it will not bounce out because it's structured. So it's like a liquid crystal, and it becomes more viscous or oily the more structured it is. So the ideal of it all is to try to get the water with the right intention, moving through the right flow forms at the appropriate temperature with the appropriate type of light touching it, which is, in my opinion, moonlight. Now, other people are going to argue with me and say, no, it's got to be sunlight. But having hunted down springs all over the place, I know where to find them. You're not going to find them directly in the sunlight unless it's a hot springs or unless it's the top of Mauna Kea or something up there in Hawaii.
Love that.
It's going to be tucked in a little valley, away from the sun with trees and stuff protecting it. And that means it likes moonlight. And also having observed years of observing these spring waters in moonlight, and the way that, for example, a way you can test the energies of water and structure of water is you could take like a Patrick Flanagan type of idea where you freeze a tray of ice, put some crystal energy in there under the full moon. If this was a full moon and I put crystal energy in my spring water right here and put that tray in the freezer, when I pull it out, it will have stalagmites in it, 100%. Now, that is one of the damnedest things, because you open the freezer, and I've had this happen where the stalagmite was like that. It was long coming out, and you're like, and you catch it, and you're like, what's happening? What's going on? It's go moving up. It's going like that. And you're like, what? So that's one of those times when you get the great reveal. You get to see what's normally happening inside your body, inside every creature's body, inside trees. This is a Victor Schauberger insight that I turned over for 30 years. The idea that the atmosphere and everything that's happening outside of us and the way water behaves outside of us versus the way it's behaving inside all these tubules and twisty little loopy things called our arterial system and our lymphatic system. The water behaves completely different inside sap in a tree than it does outside. It's not the same. How is a redwood tree pulling that water up? Well, it's sucking it up. So the whole thing's moving by suction, and the stomata, the place where the inner waters meet the outer gases, very important point about water, where the inner waters meet the outer gases. When you are born into this world, your inner waters, your mother's inner waters meet the outer gases of the world, and you take a breath, and that's all the astral energy is imprinted, right? That's when you're imprinted with your astrological information. It's happening every second, every day, right at this spring right here, where the water's being born right there, and it's being imprinted by the astral information constantly.
Wow.
That is an amazing thing to be around and to witness, and just you behold it and you go, oh my God. And it's just used to stand in awe. So luckily the other day I sent Dave into the pool house to do the work, because we have a building over a pool. So the spring comes up and then spills over in a pipe. And so we had to just go in there and clean it out, and has a building over it. So, when it's minus 40 here in the winter, by the way, when it's minus 40 here in the winter, that's a hot springs.
Right.
Water will not freeze.
Of course it is.
There's not enough energy. This is an interesting point. I'm just throwing a lot of things out here, but they're cool things to think about. There's not enough energy in the atmosphere to freeze that spring water. The spring water is too dense. It's too much in its anomaly condition. It doesn't want to move. It takes too much energy to move it out of that 4-degree position, and it won't move. So it keeps flowing.
Wow. I see Michiko just shaking her head a lot of the things you're sharing. She's like, yes, I'm okay with this.
So cool things.
I hear so much about aspects of structured water and the tension that shifts in the water, and how when the tension changes in the water, then that functions differently on how it cleans out your cells. So
let's get to that. So the way it works in your body. So many years of, let's try distilled water. Let me do fresh spring water. Let me do fresh spring water that I then spun in a spinner for 20 minutes or an hour. Now, when you start spinning water around, it gets highly structured, or you're running it through vortex pipes like this. I do a lot of that myself. These are ones that we make out of ABS. We 3D print these. We also 3D print objects like this and play around with this kind of thing. The water, when it's more structured, it becomes more oily, more viscous, especially if it's cold, and you absorb it instantly. In fact, you absorb it so quickly, it never makes it to your stomach. So you know how when you're a kid and you jump up and down after drinking a bunch of water or Kool-Aid or whatever you're drinking back then, and it goes slosh, 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 right? That will never happen. The more structured the water is, it goes right in because the barrier to entry has been removed, right? The oiliness of the water just goes and just goes right through all the barriers, go right through your skin, actually. I have one actually. This particular water, this is a highly structured water. Oh my God, am I out of it? This might be the very end. That's the last of it right there. Okay. So now if I put this, I'm just going to put this on my face right there. It will disappear. I don't know if you can see that, but it'll go right into me. It'll be gone in seconds.
So that particular structured water, where does that come from? So that's one of my questions I have is you make your own devices because you've showed me all kinds of them. So in your opinion, where can people get the best structured water devices? Can they make them on their own? Is it relatively easy? What are your thoughts on that so people can like take this knowledge and wisdom and do something with it?
Well, I have some right here. Do you want me to pull one of them over here and just kind of look at it? Now, there's two ways to go about this. One is if you are a spring water person, just go to the spring. The water has already been vortexed by the earth itself, by the pebbles in the earth and the sand in the earth and charcoal in the earth and the coal in the earth. It's already been vortexed out. So it comes out in a vortex pattern. But if you want to do what I do, which is I learned the concept of Vortrap some years ago and have been working on, all kinds of different, things like this, egg-shaped types of Victor Schauberger devices and all kinds of things, spinning the water in here. I'm going to show you the easiest way to construct that at home using stuff you can get from Home Depot. And that's what I have. That's what I have made here. And I'll go get that. So take it away for a second. Let me get that. I'll bring it over.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. So there's a lot of people that have these structured water devices that you can buy on the market. And I'm always coming from the standpoint of all things true or simple. And we don't necessarily have to buy devices from people. I think it's wise for us to resource ourselves. And I'm always coming from the curiosity, and I'll ask David this question when he comes back, is do you actually need a device that, put together in a certain way to create the proper structured water, or is it really just about allowing it to flow in its natural way, which is not in a straight line, right? And it's not at a 90-degree angle. It's in its natural flow of swirling and moving. So that's one of the questions I have, David, is do you have to have something specific? Does it have to be designed in a certain way to allow water to be in its natural flow for it to be in its higher structure?
Great question. Okay, so number one, I would say that I'm of the belief that the human consciousness is very powerful and can transform the water completely and totally, absolutely 100% to the best water ever by thought, by intention, basically.
Beautiful.
But these kind of things are fun.
That's right.
That's you know what I mean? Like this is really fun for me because there's a lot of springs on this property, but there's a lot of springs in the neighborhood here. So sometimes I'll go down the road and go to another spring and do something different than my spring. But I love taking my spring. So what this is a Vortrap concept. So I'll just quickly cover this because this is very interesting. This is basically an implosion device of sorts. So the water comes in here and it's going to go into this cylinder here, which is basically a sink. It's going to come out the bottom, right? But we create such an intense vortex in there, and there's a straw in the top that comes in there, and the straw basically has some pathways. It's like a wick. It's a wick. That's a good way to describe it. That sits in the middle. And when we think we're spinning water around, we think that the water wants to centrifugate only. But no, there's forces in the water that don't want to move out. They want to move in. So as you're swinging out, those forces move in. That's the hydrogen. The hydrogen is going to want to move against the force, just like a trout moving against a river, and will go in and up instead of out and down, right? Because this normally, when you spin something around, you think it's going to go out and down, right? You spin anything, it's going to go out and it's going to go down, right? It's going to fall down. So we're sloughing off that part of the water body, and we're capturing more of the hydrogen and more of the ormus elements or the strange matter that's in water. And there is strange matter in water, and that's a whole discussion we can get into if we stay on for a long time, but we don't have enough time to hear it. Then I'll take this and I'll plug this into another one of these. Like I have another one here. I've got 4 of these actually. Here's another one here, and I have several of these. Now I've got this in a North Pole field magnet. So the North Pole's facing inward because that's a structuring water phenomenon. So you could have the South Pole facing inward or the North Pole facing inward. I'm done the North Pole facing inward. I like that better. And then in the final analysis, if I take my spring and the spring comes all the way up to the house here, it's pressurized by a pump and it goes through 2 spiral pipes, then comes out, goes through about 3 more spiral pipes. I could go get those and show you those, but basically it's things like this, with a tube around it so that the water's forced into a spiral, or it wants to go in the spiral actually. Then what the final product that comes out is ennobled water. And everybody comes to me like, can I have some of that water? Like, do you have any more of that water? That's why I still have these out, because I got to set this up and do another round for the community here. And it's just something, it's fascinating. Now, let me tell you one last thing before, I don't want to talk too much, but I want to say one thing that's really remarkable. Insert this water, when you do these machines like this is not a machine, it's basically a water vortex device, or a vortrap is what we call it. The final product, if it comes off a spring with a very high amount of strange matter in it, I'm thinking of the North Georgia mountains. I'm also thinking of West North Carolina. That spring water has a lot of strange matter in it. It will spontaneously, if you put it in glass bottles at the final product, it will spontaneously disintegrate that glass. The glass can't hold it. So I've had amazing experiences seeing it happen in front of my eyes, where the molecular structure just disintegrates before your eyes of the glass bottle. And you're like, what's happening here? Or suddenly you'll be looking at the bottle and a hole will pop out, go pop, and a water flow come in, and the whole thing will just go and just disintegrate.
I would love to experience that. I remember you saying that before, and I'd forgotten about it. I would love. Are you familiar with such a phenomenon, Michiko? Have you? No,
No, I
no.
have never seen it.
Yeah, that's
But
a whole.
everything, yeah, David has been saying, it's just amazing, and it's so interesting. I would like to learn more from him too.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you. I learned all this stuff from just very interesting people. Now, I want to get onto the strange matter in the water.
yeah.
There are things in our environment at the molecular level that we don't know what they are. This idea that we know what everything is, there's a lot of evidence we don't. So how can there be an atom that we don't know what it is? And that's why I liked when, I think it was Terrence, what was his name? Terrence Howard, when he went on the Joe Rogan show and he started talking
Right.
about the problems with our mathematics theory, which is it's a
Yes.
theory. And, if you have to give them the square root of 1 and give them a square root of 2. But as long as those two don't look at that, we'll set up the whole thing on top of that. So you got this irrational problem at the very base of our mathematics system. And you could look at another mathematics system, or we could look at another physics system. And that's what Terrence Howard's really doing. And when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about the periodic table of the elements that he brought in from, what was his name? Walter Russell. And
Yeah.
that's more, in my opinion, what's going on there. It's even more complex than that. I know for sure 100% that gold can exist as a gold material. That's a metal. You see, it can also exist when you send it to a standards lab, they'll come back and say it's aluminum. I can prove 100%, we've done it repeatedly in the lab, that there cannot be any aluminum in it. So what that's telling us is that the standard for gold, the way you say that the gold is there using the spectroscopic signature analysis, is incorrect.
Wow.
It's incorrect. There are other standards, and that's, it's a little bit more than we can get into here. But I will say this, what's cool about that is all this stuff's in water. It's all in there. It's in spring water in particular. And I'll tell you a place where there's a lot of it is in the spring water in Northern California.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it in the spring water in Northern California. There's a lot of it in the Mount Shasta spring water and many springs that I've been to all around the state of California. And there's not that much of it in my spring here, which I'm bummed about, but this is a forest spring. The primary water springs, they have more of that stuff, strange matter, stuff that's not describable, does weird things, weird behavior. So, I learned this over the years. I wish I had better water here in that way. I mean, we have great water here, and comes out of the tap at 14 parts per million. But it doesn't have that primary water. It's a forest spring. It's created by the forest itself.
Yeah, I think in those particular regions that you're referencing where the water has different elements in them, it's interesting to pay attention to the people that migrate to those areas. There's a certain calling that our consciousness has. It draws us to these areas, and then we have a coexisting relationship, right? There's a symbiotic nature that takes place in there. That's been my observation of it's a beautiful phenomenon. We need to do a wrap. And I want to bring in Michiko, and I'm sorry, I meant to mention this in the beginning. David, if you guys want to stick around, we can do a Q&A at the end. If you guys want to stick around, if you guys have some questions, you guys that are attending, if you got some burning questions, wait just a little bit longer and then put the questions in the chat, in all capitals so we can see them. Because if you just write questions and we're never going to see them, so we'll be able to at least find them if you capitalize them for us, all caps. I really want to talk about hydrogen. We're not quite getting into that matter, and I'm wondering, David, if you could just do a quick wrap and just bring hydrogen into the discussion. Then we'll just go into Michigan.
Okay, I'll do it real quick. So hydrogen, according to our mineral theory, this is the dominant scientific theory that we've been dealing with about minerals and that we consist of atoms. Most of us is hydrogen by that theory, and most of everything is hydrogen. And the quality of hydrogen has been exactly correlated to human health. So there's three types of hydrogen that we know about: hydrogen, deuterium, and tritium. So there's heavier hydrogens that have neutrons in them that are unhealthy, actually, as the research eventually proved. And so as we age and as we develop problems, we have more of the heavy hydrogen, deuterium and tritium. So that's one aspect of the hydrogen conversation. Another aspect is that, hey, if we're going to become healthy and we're 64% at least hydrogen, we should really start seeking out the best sources of hydrogen, like springs, places where the hydrogen is coming out of the earth, or volcanic areas. And that's why people love Hawaii so much, because they get out of that plane, they smell the air, and go, this place is for me. What's going on here? It's hydrogen.
Right. So what do you think about Brown's gas devices?
Oh, and this whole thing. So this idea of imploding the radioactive material into another dimension, that's what Yul Brown proved. And
Yes.
this tells us this is an important principle. I'm going to leave it at this, and then I'm going to give it to our esteemed guest here. This idea that everything balances out in the end, right? That the amount of energy coming in is the same as going out, is just an idea. It's an assumption. We don't know if that's true or not. It's just a mathematical assumption. It's called Lavoisier's law, make it simple, right? So nothing is created, nothing is destroyed, everything is transformed. We don't know if that's true. We just made that up. So my experience is it's not true, and that you can implode things into another dimension. Things can be removed from this dimension, they go somewhere else. And then things can come into this dimension from nothing, like this water getter effect, where a little rivulet of hydrogen suddenly, bam, it's suddenly a creek, suddenly, bam, it's a river, right? Where's it coming from? Where's all this coming from? So I just wanted to kind of interject that in there, because to me that fits into the Brown's gas idea, because Brown's gas is proving to us that the portal, of course, is water and hydrogen, and that the hydrogen itself can remove radioactivity. And there has been, Dr. Flanagan talked to the people at Fukushima repeatedly over and over again about bringing a Brown's gas machine into that facility to implode the radiation into another dimension.
Wow. I'd forgotten all about that, moving it into a different dimensional realm. I totally forgot about that. Thanks for bringing it into the discussion. Bro, thank you. Thanks for expressing your genius. As always, love what you have to share.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Please stick around. We'll interject some more here in just a bit. And let's introduce Michiko. Please introduce Michiko. Yeah.
So, Michiko, what an honor it is to have you here with us. Michiko is working with the Emoto Peace Project, and she was the former assistant of Dr. Masaru Emoto for 11 years before his passing. She was working side by side with him as he was making those discoveries, and she's carried on his work. And she's here to talk with us today about how our emotions influence the waters within and around us, and also to talk with us about how we can work with the power of water to support us. And really illuminate us into the interior world of water. So Michiko, it's such an honor and a blessing to have you here. And someone who works so closely with water, you build a relationship. And, in my experience of the power of any sort of transformation, it doesn't come from us alone, it comes from the divine. And so when we build this relationship with the unseen world, it gives us access to a power. It's said that access to the unseen world is gifted through a humble heart. So for someone to work so closely side by side with this kingdom of water, she's gifted an element of understanding that hopefully through her sharing, she'll transmit to us tonight so that we can also have that deeper relationship with this fellow kingdom of ours on earth and in the heavens. So Michiko, take it away.
Freya, thank you so much. And Michael, thank you so much for having me here. And David, thank you for sharing everything you did today. And I was just so touched by what you said, shared. And I would like to learn much more from you. It would be really an honor for me to be able to stay in touch with you and learn from you again. Thank you.
I'll connect you guys for sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you so much. I'm excited to learn from Michiko. I'm
Right?
very excited to hear this.
So much to
To
learn
me,
from.
you're in the more like a scientific world, and I am in the spiritual world, but everything has two worlds together, yin and yang, and it has to be connected. And that makes everything perfect. So thank you so much. I did hear a lot about Dr. Victor Schauberger and how water is always making vortex, and that is why it's so energetic and live. And Dr. Emoto used to say when the water goes down from the fall and then hits the ground, that's when water regenerate and revive again. So it's not only going flowing gently, but also goes down and hit the world and then revive, wake up, and then gets more energy and flows to all the other places. So this is really exciting. I just remembered everything he used to tell me. So thank you very much. And because of the time, I would like to start sharing what I would like to do. Is that okay?
Great.
Perfect.
Please do. Yep.
Okay, let me share the presentation. All right.
Yeah, it just needs to go
Thank
to
you very much.
there it is. Perfect. Perfect.
All right. So let me talk about a message from water. It's water is the conductor of vibration, all vibrations. And as you know, everything is vibration. And the very first slide or picture that I would like to share is actually this is one of the science experiment that Emma Curran did in the United States. I found this picture about 10 years ago when I just succeeded Dr. Emoto's work when he passed away. Exactly 10 years ago, the 17th of October, 2014. So exactly 10 years ago, he passed away. And just after that, I saw this picture of this experiment on Facebook. So I contacted this Emma's father, and he explained that what happened, and he gave me this permission to use this slide. And the reason why I'm sharing this slide is that I have visited or communicated with many scientists who are doing the researches on water and energy. And what Emma did was she planted the same seed, three same seed, one by one in different 3 pots. And she made just 2 things that are different. One was with her own voice, she recorded negative words, and the other was with positive words. And she played those negative words to one seed and positive words to one seed, and in the center it was just a normal thing. And the sunlight and watering were the same, equally same to those 3 different seeds. And 7 weeks after she started doing this experiment is this result. One from negative words, it did not sprout. The other one with a positive words, it sprouted and grew so powerfully. And I'm saying, why did this happen? When we plant the seeds into the soil, if we do not give water, they don't sprout. So water must have something to do with this. Now, is it because of water receiving the energies of the words? Because here in Japan, we say every single word has its own energy, and it really does affect everything all around us, within us, and around us. And the picture on the left side is the picture from thank you in English. And the other one, ugly one, is from you for in English. So if water responds so differently to those two words, you can see how everything is affected, even the seed is affected and makes that result. This is the picture that I took last year in November near my house. There's a national park, and they had in the evening they lit up the Japanese garden, and in the garden there's the pond. And on that evening there was no wind. The water was calm, and there was no movement in there. Then you could see water reflected everything. Dr. Emoto always said, from his own research, he always said, water is the mirror of our heart. But when I saw this, I took this picture because I wanted to just share with everyone. Water is the mirror of our heart, but water is the mirror that reflects everything. So what we are seeing in this world, entire world right now, is the reflection of our collective consciousness. That's what I'm saying. Now, I'm going to talk about Hado vibration. Hado means vibration in Japanese. It's a subtle energy, so subtle that we cannot even see, but it exists. And water is a transmitter, the carrier, a conductor of all vibrations. And every single vibration has information and it's energy. Everything, the vibration, everything has its own frequency. And there's a law of resonance in that frequency or vibration. Vibrations resonate with vibrations of the same frequency. And that's why when I hit, like, when you tune your guitar, and if you have the guitar right in front of you, when you are playing one guitar, your guitar, the guitar in front of you resonate and makes sound. And that's the resonance. And there's a law of that resonance. The vibrations resonate with the same vibration, the same frequency. And our consciousness or thoughts or emotions are vibrations also. Every single moment, whatever we're feeling, however we're feeling or whatever we're thinking, our vibrations are differs. And from what we think, how we feel, come out the words that we say. And from whatever thoughts we have or however we feel, come out actions. When we are happy, we laugh and smile. When we are angry, we get really ugly also, or we may say something really we shouldn't be saying or we don't want to hear. So everything comes from inside ourselves. And there's Hado, a law of Hado. Hado means vibration. And that's a law of resonance, because everything is vibration. Whatever I'm thinking right now, feeling right now, resonate, and then whatever we're throwing out comes back to us. That's going in and going out and coming in. A law of Haddo. And that's the law of the universe. So that happens. And now, emotions and our thoughts or words affect, it's not only our life, but also our planet Earth. Because how we feel because of the energy, and that is affecting not only our life, but everything around us, because there's water in the air, water within us, water in the soil. Water is the conductor or carrier of the all vibrations. And so every day we're feeling and thinking, and every moment, and depending on what we think, how we feel, we are co-creating the electromagnetic field on Earth or our environment. So what kind of the planet do we want to co-create? In one day, we're feeling or thinking 50,000 to 70,000 times a day. This is an average of how many times we feel. So we can say that our minds are so busy unless we meditate and control our thoughts or feelings. And from those 50 to 70,000 times in average, almost 80% is something negative or nothing important. Sometimes we're angry, sometimes we're complaining, sometimes we worry about something, but only 20% is said to be positive. We're feeling happy, we're laughing, or being confident. But if our thoughts are energy and vibration, and there's law of vibration, and that comes, whatever I'm throwing is coming back to my life. If we want, in my life, my thoughts are affecting my family, my friends around me, my plants and animals and pets and everything, we want to raise our consciousness so that not only myself, of course, starting from myself, but others will be happy and positive. So you can see how water responds to happy and unhappy, the words happy and unhappy. This is the choice that we are making every single moment. Even though we feel that we can't help it, but we feel this way, but we are really choosing how we feel. We can choose something positive. And as we are human beings, we can get angry, we can be sad, we can worry about something, but the important thing is not to stay in the negative state for so long. World population now is said to be 8.1 billion right now. That's a collective unconsciousness. And as I said, if one person is feeling in one day or thinking in one day almost 70,000 times a day, how does one person affect the world within or my life? Water within me, water outside, because water is the conductor, the transmitter of every vibration. We are water. Water stores memory. Water transmits information, our thoughts, our feelings, our everything. Water is deeply connected to our consciousness. Water is the catalyst for well-being and health and peace. Now let's just think about how much water or how little we have on the surface. It's not primary water. I'm talking about the surface water of the earth. And the surface of water of the earth has 97.5% seawater, and only 2.5% is fresh water. I don't know how much primary water has come out and be part of this 2.5%. But it said 70% of this fresh water is Antarctic or North Pole or South Pole, and that we cannot really use in our domestic life. And water for domestic use is approximately 0.01%. How much water is that? Yeah. In Japan, we have the culture to get into to take the hot bath every night. The amount of hot bath is about 200 liters. And I'm just making an example so that you can see how much 0.01% is. Now, 0.01% of 200 liters water that we take the hot bath every night is only 1 tablespoon. It's 20 milliliter. That's the only water we can share on entire earth for our domestic use. And we are still polluting this water. We need to change our lifestyle. We need to change our thoughts to water. We need to respect water. We need to love and appreciate water. And let's take a look at waters from natural waters. Spring water from Mount Fuji area, in Lake Maggiore in Switzerland, Holy Spring at Lourdes, France. They're all so beautiful. And especially this Lourdes in France is a holy spring that so many people come from all around the world and offer the prayers. So the water crystal forms like a rosary. A clear lake, like Russell shared. This is the water crystal from Clear Lake that Dr. Emoto obtained. And it's so complex. You can't really find this in other places. And there's a reason why Clear Lake makes this complex water. Now, water is trying to recover. We have polluted waters all around the earth. I have visited almost 40 countries after Dr. Emoto passed, and discovered that every single water in different places are polluted. And now it's time to recover it. And water is trying to recover. For example, the upstream of this Fuji River is so beautiful, but when it goes down to midstream, it's polluted. Why? Because of us using detergent, and because of the daily life, we're not respecting the water. We're not taking care of the water or nature. That's why we're polluting water. But water is trying to recover itself, because when it goes down, you can see how water is recovering. So water has the resilience. Everything and every living things have water. Like humans, water has a natural resilience. And let's protect well-being of water. How? Yeah. What is good for humans' well-being is good for water. So it is good for the earth. What is good for us is what is good for the earth. Respect and protect water, both spiritually and physically. Both those yin and yang are very important. It's not just spirituality, and it's not only technology or physical thing, but both together. Your health is your good health is healthy water, and healthy water is healthy Mother Earth. We are all part of Mother Nature, Mother Earth. And let's take a look at tap waters. Tap waters are really not really well. UK, Paris, the major cities, tap waters are really broken. What happens when we play music, different musics to water? Now when we do the experiments or testing of water crystals or to make water crystals, we use distilled water. And before playing any music to this distilled water, it's a very simple hexagonal crystal. To this hexagonal water, if we play music of Beethoven's Destiny that transforms to this beautiful crystal. Just imagine the water in the air is listening to this, and water in our body, the plants in family, everything is listening and forming this beautiful crystal. And that's really healthy, and water is being very happy. But when we play something negative or destructive, water cannot form this beautiful crystal. So this is a choice what we can make every single moment. And showing different pictures to water. Now, when we showed this Izumo shrine picture to water, water created this crystal. Now you can see how water has the memory. It remembers what it saw. And printing heart to water and showed it. Then water created this heart. So you can see water has memory. Now we're getting into words, powerful vibrations. After showing thank you in Japanese, you for in Japanese, you can see completely two different crystallization, formation of the crystals. This is very well known rice experiment that one of the school kids did here in Japan. His mother cooked rice and put the same rice into two different jars. And the boy wrote thank you on the right hand one and you full on the left hand. And he said thank you to the thank you rice, and you full to you full rice. The same rice made this completely different state. The rice with thank you got fermented and smelled really nice after 1 month. And the other one with you full got rotten. So if this happens to rice, why did this happen? Because of water. Water received the vibration of two different words. And if this happens to rice, and that happened to seeds that the Emma did, we are water. Everything has water. So we shall be very careful with what we think, what we say. Thank you in German, thank you for in German. So you can see. And all the thank yous are in all different words are very beautiful. This is thank you in Chinese. And this is the word, the crystal from self-love. Now you can see that love starts from within and expands. Peace and war. Now water created differently. It's not just water crystals. When Dr. Emoto started to do the water research, he used to get some water from tap water to test how much toxin the tap water has. And it has very little tiny amount value of toxins like mercury toxin, lead toxin, and aluminum toxin, other toxins too, very small amount. But one day, on the 17th of January, 1991, these toxin value went up, and he didn't know why that happened. On that very day, when he went home, he discovered that that was the day that Gulf War started, and in the battlefield, there were just all the bombs going down, and that negative vibration, destructive vibration, affected tap water in Tokyo. Now, why? We need to remember why this happened, because water is the conductor of vibrations, and the speed of vibration is the same as speed of light, which is what? In 1 second, this vibration goes 7 times and a half all around the earth in 1 second. So when one bomb drops in one place, it goes the speed of light. It covers everywhere with this destructive energy. So when we are sending love and respect and happy vibrations, then that beautiful vibrations covers all around the earth, and it goes around everywhere 7 times and a half in 1 second. So that's also, again, it's a choice that we can make every second. Let's do it and do it. What do we want to say? I can do it. I can't do it. This is something that the law of vibration is a law of attraction. So when we have a project or something, do I want to make it successful, or do I want not to be able to do it? It's a choice also. It's a law of vibration and law of attraction. You're beautiful and I love you. Those are so beautiful that we want to be sharing with yourself, within yourself and others. Compassion is so beautiful. It's now the time to share compassion with everyone. This is something that Dr. Emoto always said. Water is not to be sold. Writing blasphemy in Japanese is written as selling water. So Dr. Emoto always said, selling water is the blasphemy to God. And when we show the word blasphemy in English, it makes very similar crystal. So there are many water selling companies, but they should really stop doing it, because this is not what God gave to us. God gave just water, air, and soil, everything equally to all living things, not just for human beings, not for the people who have money or not having money, but equally to all living things. So we should stop selling anything to make money. The most beautiful crystal that water made is from love and gratitude. And this is what Dr. Emoto said. The source has been giving his love through sun ray, and the water is the one that sending out the vibration of love, God's love, because water is the conductor of vibration. Einstein's formula, E equals mc square, in Emoto's interpretation, is energy is number of people times consciousness square. This means the more people with higher consciousness or better consciousness, energy gets better. The chemical formula of water is H2O, 1 oxygen and 2 hydrogens. And Dr. Emoto's formula is water is 1 love and 2 gratitudes. That means it's replacing oxygen into love and 2 hydrogens to 2 gratitudes. Then 1 love and 2 gratitudes make peace and harmony on earth, within yourself and on earth. And this is why water made the most beautiful crystals to love and gratitude. So when everybody has the one love and 2 gratitudes, the beautiful energies of love and gratitude goes all around you, all around your community, and all around the world. And we don't have to do anything to try to fight or try to do anything to make the world a better place. But if every single person has love and one love and two gratitudes, then naturally the world will be a better place, a happier and peaceful place. And to our consciousness, how does water respond? We tested this water, and then the water before the prayer was so negative, so ugly, but after the prayer, the same water changed so beautifully. So you can see how powerful our consciousness is. When Dr. Emoto was in Taiwan, he had 500 people together and sending love from Taiwan to tap water in Tokyo. This was Dr. Emoto's desk, and we had the tap water there. And after those 500 people sending love, a vibration to this water, then before the remote prayer, the tap water was this ugly, but after the remote prayer, the same water changed. So it doesn't matter if it's remote or not, our consciousness reaches everywhere, like with the same speed as light as the speed of light. This is the experiment of noodle that I did in 2021 when we're still under the COVID. And I asked 5 people to send their thoughts remotely to the noodle that I prepared. And I only put A, B, C. I never put any words, nothing. And I asked 5 people, one from New York, one from the West Coast of the US, one from Mexico, one from England, one from Japan. And please ignore the A noodle. And to B noodle, send negative thoughts, and C noodle, positive thoughts. After 3 weeks, this was the result. So you can see how people can affect material, physically. And this is the last slide that I would like to share. We started doing this World Water Festival in 2022. And we had a specialist of water pollution. And after praying with 5,000 people remotely online and 100 people from venue, sending the same prayers to water. And now you can see this specialist was very surprised. He said something incredible happened. COD, which shows the pollution of the water, from before the prayer, it was value 15. That meant that a fish cannot stay alive when COD value is 15. That's polluted. But just by 5,000 people sending the prayer to that water, the COD value went down to 7, which water pollution was solved, and fish can stay alive. And in that only 10 minutes, that made the difference in the water. This is science. So science can show how powerful our collective consciousness is. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Michiko.
I hope I didn't go over too much.
No, that's great. No, it was
That's
absolutely
amazing.
brilliant. This is brilliant. And I'm so profoundly moved by those experiments. I was exposed to Dr. Emoto's work 2001 through the documentary Down the Rabbit Hole, or What the Bleep. I actually
What the bleep do we know?
Yeah, one of the rare folks that actually saw it in the theaters it was playing in Atlanta for like 2 weeks, and I caught it. So it was my first exposure, and it was an immediate resonation with me. I totally got it. And I was profoundly moved, and I bought all the material that Dr. Emoto had released at the time, and I just sort of imbibed myself. And it was a very, very profound effect on my life. So what you're bringing forward again was a great reminder. I haven't really reviewed some of that information in a long time. And what really blew my mind is when you're talking about blasphemy, that being in the Japanese word, selling water, like, wow,
Yeah.
that hit me really, really hard. It absolutely feels like blasphemy
Yeah,
when people want to control water and sell water,
exactly.
not to mention in plastic bottles, et cetera, and these just sort of conditions where water doesn't flourish and thrive. Thank you. I really, really
Thank
deeply
you.
appreciate your presentation and bringing that forward. It's just alive in me again, all over,
Mm.
all over. You want to
Yeah.
share anything?
I mean, so many things, just that the water is a mirror to our heart. And, it's just showing us we can look around our world right now and we can see where we're at. And so often people look around the world and they see all these points of contention and all of these things that they don't like and then want to war against them. And at this time, it's really just expanding our awareness and expanding our identity beyond our sense of self or personhood to recognize that our identity is the totality of creation.
Yeah.
And what messages can we glean from looking around? The messages we glean or the messages we need to receive are the points within ourselves that are perhaps in need of healing. It was years ago, I had traveled to South Africa and I got to see lions,
Wow.
elephants, and
Mhm.
giraffe, and this beautiful, diverse landscape. And
Hmm.
in meditation there, I was shown that the animals and the people were the outcropping of the spirit of place, and that the spirit of place was needing to exhibit something, work through something that it was doing through all its living creatures. And in that awareness, it kind of, then took that and applied it to different places I've been in my life and different experiences I've had. And, even we can look at that in terms of what's happening right now with the hurricanes and the weather systems in Florida and the Southeast. And, looking at that is that what's happening in our world are aspects and reflections of the spirit of place. It's like,
Exactly.
look at what we need to heal in ourselves. The deepest healing can come when it's not only looking at ourselves personally, which we absolutely have to take personal responsibility, but we also can look at what's in the field. What's lodged in our ancestry, what's been
Mhm. Right.
tread upon the soil for so long that hasn't been addressed, and how
Mhm.
can we bring more love to it? How can we flow it through the connected planetary grid? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, every single place has its own energy. It has a history, ancestral energy. And we also have our ancestral gene also from receiving from ancestors. So our soil, our country, ourselves, our nationality, everything. And but I see so many people saying they're fighting for peace, but fighting is not the solution. Fighting is
Right.
fighting always.
Yeah.
Peace within myself. If every single person is peaceful and kind and gentle and saying thank you and loving yourself, loving others, that's all we have to do. We don't have to do anything. And then I feel very happy every time, and I can accept what is happening because I know water is responding. Water is the
Right.
consciousness. Water is the blood of the earth.
Mm.
It's circulating everywhere with the information. And as the corporations, I'm sorry to say this, are really eager to make money, to conquer the world, the energy gets worse and worse. But it's just one part of what we are seeing. And we don't take it so personally and get angry or anything. Just see as what it is. And just think of ourselves, get inside and be peaceful. Just like animals, do they fight for those? They don't.
Right.
All they do is just they protect their own family and territory. That's all. They want to live peacefully. They want to be able to have their own family. And if we all do that, we can just everybody can stay very happy peaceful, and the world will be. So you just start from one person to heal. Water it starts from healing ourselves.
Oh, and I'd love to hear, I think David Wolfe has something to say, but I wanted to ask you, Michiko, because when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, and you shared with me your vision for coming and this tour, this water tour, and why it's so important at this time. And you've shared these principles, but for your heart and for your mission, why was it important to do this at this time?
At this time, I knew it was because West and East are divided, and also many people are divided, two divisions, and water is really flowing, showing there's no division. H2O together, it's all that we have. Every single person has its own role, men and women. There's always negative and positive, yin and yang within myself too. And water is really showing in this water crystals that, accepting and sending love. And to one love, receive two God with two gratitudes. And that's something that when you really discover that, the world will be, the US will be, the people in the United States will be happy, peaceful. When the US becomes a peaceful place, then the whole world will become a peaceful place because we're all connected. The water is circulating in the air, down on in the earth, our bodies everywhere.
Thank you so much.
So I know David's.
Yeah.
I would love for you to share your thoughts. And prior to that, I want to remind you guys, if you've got questions, please put them in all caps. Some of you have posed some questions and you highlighted them. That's fantastic. We're just going to open up the Q&A here in just a couple of minutes. So if you've got some questions burning, please just all caps them. Thanks. Bro, I'm sure you were exposed to Dr. Emoto's work back in the day as well. I'm sure you were just right in alignment with all that. And I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are. What's coming up for you? Oh, I can't hear you. You're not muted, but I'm not hearing you. Maybe your mic got kicked off. Oh no.
Yeah, I don't know. You're not muted.
Hearing you.
We don't hear you.
I can feel you though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can't hear.
Oh no.
Oh, that's so weird. Oh no. Oh well.
Well,
I don't know what to do about that.
You can exit the meeting and come back in.
Yeah, maybe you
There's
can.
some setting on your computer.
I don't know. Maybe you can jump off and come back on and see if that corrects it. That sometimes can do it.
oh yes, it says, someone said, Helen Maria said, Dr. Emoto worked with Dr. Ibrahim Karim. Yes, the founder of Bio. Yeah, I remember very well that Dr. Emoto used to see him in Europe and then worked with Dr. Karim. Yeah.
Well, we can go through some questions. I'd love to hear what you have to say, Avocado. I'm not sure why we're not able to hear you. That's just wonky.
Maybe he can text in the chat.
No,
He's
actually,
frozen.
he's frozen too. So I think
Oh, he's frozen. Okay, he's coming
maybe
back.
maybe we can just bump him out and then he could just come back in. Are we able to even do that?
He might not be able to get back in if we bump him in. Let's see.
Oh. I'd love to bring Russell back into this. And yeah, there you go. Bring Russell back into this well, and we can open up some Q&A. Don't be
Is
bashful with
Russell?
your questions. Yeah, so I think
There you go, Russell.
yeah, he is. Says, do Russell and David Wolfe know about biogeometry? And if so, have they used it to clear harmonized water and bodies of water? I know Dr. Emoto were. Oh yeah, okay, that's what you were just talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, everything is vortex, in the universe is vortex. Within our body, the water in our body is vortex, spinning, and our DNA too, double helix and everything is vortex. And that's why we need the structured water, vortex water. It gives us energy, life.
All right, we can come. What are your thoughts on that,
Russell,
Russell?
you need to
Yeah, you're
unmute.
muted. David, can we hear you now?
Can you hear me? Yeah,
Wonderful.
it's working. Okay, cool. Well, one of the things I wanted to just interject in this conversation is all these aspects of water. But I really loved what Victor Schauberger did, because as a male brain growing up in a male technological world, you get pulled into the automobile, the vehicles. I call it the spontaneous combustion engine. The combustion engine, the using pressure to force things to move, right? And what was so amazing about Victor Schauberger is his knowledge of spring water and the way the trout moved up against the flow and could go up a waterfall even gives us another idea of force, which is, how about being just pulled in or sucked up into the flow rather than pushing? So I just loved that whole idea of getting into a different concept of technology. It saved my life, I think. I actually was that affected by that particular download at that point in my life. Water teaches us how to get out of holy flow.
Hmm.
Got a point. That's a good point.
Am I still here? Did I survive?
Yep. You survived. Yeah.
It's a good point.
You survived. So somebody had made mention about Dr.
I'm gonna actually quit out of. Jeez.
What's that? Somebody had made mention about Dr.
He's having some technical difficulties.
Oh wow, we're getting kind of a echo cycle here. This is bizarre. Yeah, okay, so his
Okay,
look
I should be better now.
okay.
What's going on? My computer's a little bit.
Hold on. Getting kind of a echo bizarre. Yeah, so your video is frozen, but we could hear you. Maybe you could just go on audio.
Video is frozen. We can hear you. Maybe you could just go on audio.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I guess the point I was getting at is this idea of the flow of water, going with the flow and the holy flow and all that was such a major download, such an awesome concept. And it just gives us a whole different idea about how we're going to move water around. Ultimately, what Victor Schauberger said was that the way we're moving water around is really it's very unconscious, right? Water wants to be able to spill over. It wants to do this. It wants to turn over that way. It also wants to turn over this way. And whatever you're using as a medium needs to be able to allow water to do that. There was a big battle in Europe fought about, should we pipe Europe in copper or should we pipe Europe in wood? And that battle was lost, but we don't realize how much of a loss that really was, that we did not get wood pipes. We could have had wood pipes. Such things exist.
Wow.
Well, I'd never thought about that before. Just running water. I mean, some of the old aquifers were made out of wood, right? As they were moving waters from place to place. It seems kind of primitive, but that's where the technology is, right?
So is it possible to show a video? I want to see if I can share a screen and show this. I just want to show a particular section of a video that to me it's incredibly inspiring because it shows you water doing things that you can't believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to try to find some questions while you do that.
My computer's just freaking out on me here. Let me just quit out of something else. I quit out of this too. Boom, force quit. Okay. Let me just see if I can get it queued up here. Hold on. Oh, that doesn't sound good.
We can't hear it.
Okay, forget that. I think the bandwidth of my computer is a little bit maxed.
Well, if you want to share that with me, if you want to email it to me or whatever, or just send it in Telegram, I'll post it because we're going to send out an email with a link to all this, and that would be great. I'd love to as much information as we can share.
Okay.
But somebody was talking about, and I know that you were commenting on it, Michiko, and I think Russell, you were going to say something about it, but Dr. Abram Karim, I don't think I'm actually familiar with him, but are you familiar with his work?
We can't hear you, Russ.
Oh,
Russ,
why we're having that problem with Russ now. We can't hear you, Russ. For some reason, you're not muted. Oh,
Okay, try now.
Oh,
well, here we are having some tech issues. Sorry about this.
And Russell, maybe go out of the meeting and come back in.
Yeah.
Aha,
Yeah.
there. Oh,
this is the guy you're talking about?
I'm not familiar with his work.
This is Ibrahim, the guy you just mentioned. What's his name? The biogeometry
Karim.
guy. Ibrahim
Karim.
Karim. That's the
Yes.
okay. So this is I carry this around with me actually everywhere, but you can see those patterns are very water-like. And he says these are the key ones right here.
So is that
I-
so? Go ahead, Michiko. My thinking is
I have not really met him, but I do remember that Dr. Emoto came back to Japan and talked about Dr. Karim. I think he was from Saudi Arabia.
No,
He was
Egypt. He's Egyptian.
Egypt, okay, the professor at the university or something. And I really don't know much about him. Okay, so that's what.
So what are these shapes indicating? What's going on here? Because it looks like some of the electroculture things that are used for gardening, right?
Right.
Copper.
So each one is a different organ. So this is like kidneys and adrenals. This one right here is the heart. That's the heart. This one right here is obviously, female genitalia here. Over here is this is the colon. The spiral down is the colon.
Huh.
And this is just a little section of his work, one piece of his work. This is the stomach. First one. And this one's the liver.
So what is that indicating exactly?
Yeah, right.
So what he's basically saying is that all of these complex ideas can be brought back down to simple little, like basically squiggly lines that are the original letters. Like this is the original language, basically. And so everything can be simplified down to these concepts. Now, one of the things that stayed with me about Ibrahim's work that may be of interest to you guys is that Christina does this all the time, Michael. You're going to see it now. Is anytime you have a chord like this, Dr. Ibrahim Karim says you got to tie a knot in it. It can't be in a straight line. It's got to do like this or something. It's got to be like folded back on itself, wind around and this and like that. So all your chords, like your electrical chords, they'll feel better if you get them wound up.
Really?
That's Dr. Karim direct.
Oh,
interesting.
yeah. Now I think I'm realizing I'm more familiar with this than I thought. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Russell, what are your thoughts? It seems you're back in and we can hear you.
You can hear me. So I remember
Yay.
the song in the 60s, I see you, hear me, all that stuff. Anyway, I'm just here as a person that works for, somebody who knew a mentor, so I want to just say this, there's a lot of education in this, and I do believe in it, and I look for the past to go on for the future. And, right now we're having situations in the world that are very desperate, and it means that we can take this information and use it from the heart. And I think that's what we're dealing with right now. It was the most important thing to me is to save a lake, but to you, it probably wouldn't mean much. And I think, David, you mentioned what was going on in Northern California in the water. You called it primary water. Of course, it's true, and of course that most of that comes from the volcanoes and that move from south to north. And then we learn more about the importance of these volcanoes that brought together with people who traveled along with those volcanoes, and their whole life was a volcano. And of course, these volcanoes talk to each other and underneath the earth. It'll give us more of a reason why you can find that water coming off of the top of the mountains and so on, because that water does have pressure, but it also has feelings and has emotions that wants to reach up to deal with humanity, really. And all of this stuff is really important for us to understand this stuff. But what we're doing now is healing. We're in a process of healing the earth. And what we need to do is bring in the people who understand this. And I often bring this as do re. We call it do re mi, but in a sense, we're doing do re we now. We're healing, and we're really healing, and we're using our knowledge in the past to go to the future. And of course, to go in the future, we often have to give up all of the things we learned in the books. It's time for us to heal. It's time for us to understand the water loves us and it will do anything for us. And the idea of a God put a spirit upon the water is real. It's that third entity, or it's that extra H and H2O. It's that thing that allows us to stand up and to be part of our all community, not just this one, not just the one we're talking about and what all we learn. And I think Schellenberger would just love the fact that we have a meeting together to do more than what he asked us to do, you know. And the same with Dr. Emoto, and the same as Jesus, you shall do mightier works than me. All of this, we have to feel it in our heart. It doesn't matter all of this intellect. And I think we need to put it in front. Spirit goes first, and then technologies go second. And so we're just learning that. And that's what the earth wants us to do. That's what the water needs us to do. That's what the water reaches out to be done. And David, I'm assured that you're right about the water coming off the top of the mountains, you know, because that's, if you look at it through, you know, through this United States of America, the Iroquois had talked to these Europeans, you know, who were downtrodden, who were sent to this country because weren't belong, and they basically taught us how to understand how the earth works, and they lived on top of these mountains, and there are springs coming out of these mountains, and those were reported higher than the Himalayas at one time. So we need to learn that history, and we need to feel it intuitively as well as intellectually. And now we're combining together to do that. It's really important that that's why I keep saying need to save these people around this lake who are dying at twice the amount per capita than all of California as an average. We need to do something with our life to help the downtrodden people. And I'm just here to do that. That's all I need to do. And like Michiko said, we don't need this. We don't need certain things. We just need to feel. But we need to learn from the past. We need to honor the people in our past. And that's what we're doing. And thank you, David, for doing that. I appreciate that. And I think we need to go forward now, because everyone listening here today is coming from the heart, everyone. And it doesn't matter if you do or you don't do or whatever, it's what you feel in the heart. And that's what the water asks it to do. I love you guys. I really
Oh, I love you too,
Thank
Russ.
you, Russell.
I know you wanted to say something. I'm going to bring something up, and then we're going to kind of go to a close.
I just wanted to speak to what Russell said is, I just want to save a lake. And, Michael and I were speaking about this earlier of, why at this point in time we're gathering like this. And, if you look at the astrology, you look at even the future trajectory that's charted based on our past actions, things aren't looking really good right now. But the wild card is human consciousness, the power we have when we come together to affect change. And, this is the thing that I think the future is riding on. That's why it's been the time of prophecies that the earth will be destroyed. And this is where a time where people will come together, of the rainbow nation that will come all together to heal the earth and to uplift one another. And I think this is, what we're speaking to right now is this unity consciousness. And it's said in Kabbalah that there was a time where we had the unity with the divine, with the Godhead. And there was something called the fall of man when we shifted out of that space of unity. And so what's being asked for, and what so many, light workers, spiritual practitioners, alchemists throughout time have been working toward, is this reunification of us with the Godhead. And it's not about where we're going or what we're doing. It's about that we're doing it together. We come together with one heart, and we're heard by the great mother of the universe. And it's all the traditions. They have this calling upon, in Judaism, it's the call for the Shekinah to descend upon the earth. In the Bible, it's calling for the Spirit of the Lord, the revival to come, which is the Spirit of God to wash over the land and renew its people. All traditions, you can find this. And that's the unity. When we're all together and we can call out with one heart, a wave of transformation has the capacity to flow over this planet. And I think that's what's being asked for at this time, for us to come together, for us to join our hearts and voices and forget about our minds, forget about our differences. And, look at people mentioned in the chat about Tampa. When that weather forecast came online, it was all over the place. Let's pray. Let's calm the storm. Let's fight, let's use the power of our prayer and our intention to affect change. And so, let this be a calling card for everyone who's listening, that you matter. You matter so much. You make an absolute difference in this world, and to recognize that the power of your prayers, even remotely, the power of your intention can shift anything. It can lift someone out of a dark place. So
thank you. Wow, what a great transmission. I mean, so a lot of the comments and messages, a lot of comments and questions in the chat, she answered those questions. She answered all those questions with what just came through. And every one of us have been sharing this all night long. The way we think, what our intentions are, what our emotions are, affects everything around us. And you can't take that lightly. Take that to the nth degree of its potential. And that's how powerful we are. And the more of us that think, the more of it's compounded. When groups of us come together, it is exponential in its effectiveness and its potential.
And I just want to share that what I was doing 10 years ago on October 17th, 2014, was I was writing about Dr. Emoto, adding it to my music program for children in recognition that the power of our intention, has to affect change. And on the day that I wrote that on my website was the day that I found out that he had passed away. So to be here 10 years later in this moment, feeling, we never know what spirit is leading us toward. And this is why it's so important to follow the promptings of our heart, even if it doesn't seem to make any sense to our mind.
Yeah. So it's so beautiful.
So this is the children's book.
Oh, yes. Please share that, please.
This is the children's book that Dr. Emoto made to share with children about this message from water, that our thoughts, everything changes the water. Water responds, and water. It doesn't matter what country we are from, what language we use, what culture we have, but water is the same everywhere. It's different, but it's life for everyone. And learning and thinking and loving water, appreciating and respecting water is really important, because we are water also.
Yes. Wow.
Thank you for that.
So we're just going to wrap really quick, and Reya is going to share a song just for the next couple of minutes.
We're going to sing a song.
We're going to sing a song. Yeah, she loves community song circles.
And part of my music project for children was inspired by many things, including my own children, and a dream that when we gather together and we sing, we can't hold any animosity against one another. And then years later, I met the last high priestess of the Q'ero Nation from the Andes Mountains of Peru. And she said that in times of drought, they would gather the children and teach them a certain song to sing to bring the rain. And the power of children, the purity of their voices and their hearts, are the closest thing to source. So when we call out, it's responded to by the natural world. And especially when children call out, and the vision that children hold in their consciousness of a bright future imprints that bright future into our field. So this is a song just of gratitude. And the words are, "Oh, great spirit, we give our gratitude and praise." Praise is like our thanksgiving for life. And then we'll call in the directions, we'll call in the elements, and then just have a blessing upon all of us. So if we want to take a moment and just connect with our hearts and feel ourselves in sacred circle, connecting with each other's hearts. And feel free to sing along. And we sing with one heart to be heard by the great mother of the universe, that our love may be felt and known, and that all areas may be brought in balance and harmony. Down, or it might blow you out. Singing is louder than talking, so the settings have to be different.
Is that even on? I think this is on.
Oh yeah, great. So
That's
let's
okay.
switch over,
just
but
go
you
for
don't have the music settings. It won't even pick up the music.
Oh,
Okay.
I got it.
Okay. We're a little tricky over here. We're navigating two things. Okay. Here we go. Oh, great spirit, we give our gratitude and praise. Oh, great spirit, we give our gratitude and praise. Spirit of the east, spirit of the west, spirit of the north, spirit of the south, come, 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 come. Spirit of the east, spirit of the west, spirit of the north, spirit of the south, come, 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 come. Oh, great spirit, we give our gratitude and praise. Oh, great spirit, we give our gratitude and praise. Great mother, great mother, great mother, great mother, come, 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 come. Spirit of the earth, spirit of the water, spirit of the earth, spirit of the water, spirit of the wind, spirit of the sun, spirit of the wind, spirit of the sun. Grandmothers, grandfathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, come, 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 calling the light of creation, calling the light of creation. We are the rainbow nation, we are the rainbow nation. This is the end of illusion, this is the end of illusion, 'cause we remember who we we are. We remember who 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 we are. Oh, Great Spirit, we give our gratitude and praise. Oh, Great Spirit, we give our gratitude and praise. And turn your attention, your love and energy toward the waters of the world. See them harmonized, filled with love, with light, with beauty, with gratitude. May all favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May all favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May all favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. Oh, Great Spirit, we give our gratitude and praise. And sing to your own hearts. Sing to the water in your own body. Sing love. We remember who we are. We remember who we are. We remember who we are. We remember who we are.
Yes. Beautiful.
And just
Beautiful.
feeling that vibration for a moment.
Beautiful.
And what was shown to me is that all the wisdom from all time is contained in the energetic field of the earth. And it's available to us speaking through at every moment. And to access it, we just need to build relationship. We build relationship through the expression of gratitude, love to the unseen world, to the earth, to the water, to the elementals. So take this as an invitation to develop that relationship with nature. Sing to it, love it, invite its messages, and then we can be informed of what the pathway forward is. And we give deep gratitude to all beings seen and unseen, known and unknown, that have come to join us today and pray with us and sing with us and grow and learn. And may these messages be taken by that water and circled around the earth again and again and again and distributed. May we rise in consciousness so that we may be a powerful force for good. And may these times ahead be met with grace.
Oh, thank you. Wow, beautiful transmission. You're on fire
Thank
tonight.
you.
Thank you.
Did you know he could sing? People who know him?
It was really beautiful. Just so touching,
Oh,
feeling so deeply.
Mm.
Thank you so much. I had the vision of all children just being happy, laughing, sharing, of us watching from above, and that's a future.
Yes.
Yes. So Michiko, when
So
you make it
grateful.
to the United States, we'll go to some schools and we'll read your
Let's
book
do it.
and we'll sing with the children.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Do
plan
it.
that.
Thank
And
you.
it's not the future, it's the now. It's
It's
happening.
That's right.
And this water is so lit right now. It is so lit. And I'm
Yeah.
going to put it in my pocket.
Wonderful.
Thank you all so very much for taking time out to be with us this evening to express your love and your genius and everything that we have to share and bring to the world so we can affect change. Thank you all for hanging with us tonight. And thank you everyone that joined us. All of it is affecting the quantum measure. It all matters. Every bit of it matters. So thank you. I love you and deeply appreciate all of you.
Oh my goodness. And
Russell,
what,
David, Michiko, thank you.
thank
guys
you. And
so
what
very
Thank
much.
beautiful
you very
comments
much.
just flooding in from
Yes.
people
Wow.
of their gratitude. And just we're going to send out the link for the replay, and we'll
Yeah.
send out links to everyone's work who presented here today. And, thank you so much for coming and joining in this unified field and using the power of your intention.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
so
there we are.
touching.
And here we are.
Here
Thank
we
you, everyone.
are.
Blessings to you. I love you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I
We'll
love
see you
you
guys
all.
very soon.
Thank
Check
you.
your emails for the replay and such. Yeah.
Thank you.
Big love.
Big love.
Yeah. See you guys.